Okay, we're live.
Okay, good evening. I would like to call to order the September 14, 2020 Lake Washington School Board study session. Let the record reflect that all board members are present and participating remotely. All meeting participants will also be joining this meeting remotely in alignment with the will be streamed on the district's website. To stream the meeting, viewers can call 425-936-2813, conference ID 37127 to listen to the meeting. Regular board meetings and study sessions will continue to be live streamed on the Lake Washington School District website and posted for viewing within 2 days. The topics on the agenda for the study session tonight are first is a review of the reasonable interpretation and legislative priorities. So, Dr. Holman, would you lead us through OE 10 and 11, the review of the reasonable interpretations?
Absolutely. And one of the conversations that I believe it was Eric, Mark, and I had with Cabinet around policies, and in particular OE 10 and 11, when we're thinking about remote learning and the impact of that, and really data that we want to think about as we're doing monitoring this year. And so we spent some time going through both OE 10 and OE 11 to see where are there places where we felt like specific indicators could be called out that then would lead to appropriate monitoring data later in the school year. We also, thinking about our racial equity work this year, also thinking about, are there places within these policies where we want to consider issues of race and equity, and thinking about some of the data that would want to be reported. And I think that's going to be ongoing work. We did an initial consideration today, not a final consideration, knowing that we're going to want to continue to evaluate all of our policies with that racial equity lens. And so you'll see the proposal tonight will have both indicators related to remote learning with a few indicators related to our race and equity work. And so we didn't do an overhaul of the policies, knowing that we just did all of our policy work a year ago. And so we just did some addition to the policy indicators, knowing that the superintendent's interpretation was just approved last year. The current indicators were just approved last year. So we didn't do, again, an overhaul of the policies. This is just a review of indicators related specifically to remote learning. And while we were having that conversation, also used an equity lens on that as well. And so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. In the board folder for the study session, Diane uploaded these documents for you to have in hand. And so we'll start with OE 10, learning environment. And as you may know or may not, Associate Superintendent Matt Gillingham actually takes the lead on these data, because many of these data elements are relevant to the work within his division. And so any cabinet members can chime in with comments as we go. We just reviewed this today. And so as I walk through this, I will indicate the policy section, and then you'll see, if you have it pulled up on your screen, any indicator in red is a new indicator that we are proposing. And really, this is the board's chance to either discuss, think about, revise the indicators, knowing that this is then what drives monitoring later in the year. And so I will go through. As I go through, if there's comments, Eric, I can't see all of the screens, and so you'll have to help me out with calling on hands and things like that. But I'll just pause after I read the overall policy statement and the updated indicator, and then if there's comments or discussion, we can hold it then. And so let me read the overall policy statement. It's OE10 is learning environment and treatment of students. The overall policy statement is the superintendent shall establish and maintain a learning environment that is safe, respectful, free from unnecessary disruption, and conducive to effective learning. And so with that in mind, 10.1 is maintain a collaborative school culture that ensures high expectations and success for all children in all classrooms through equitable and aligned systems and supports. And so the updated indicator here in red states that schools have developed and implemented communication and support structures to ensure all students are engaged and learning. And when I think about some of the data that will be generated from that, I think it's both on the remote learning side and on the equity side. And I guess the other way to walk through this, Eric, is just if you want me to go through all of the recommendations and then board members we can just jump back to.
Let's go item by item for
okay.
now.
Great.
Director Bleasner has her hand raised.
Thank you. So as I'm following through, when I look at the indicators, my question I always ask when I look at that is, what is that telling me in regards to an outcome and a product at the end, or is it a process-oriented thing? Again, this sort of feels to me like it's process, as opposed to, I'd want to say that our schools have, engaged 95% of our students in learning and learning, because it's by having the communication and support structures that we succeed at having them engaged in learning. So I think the outcome I'm interested in is, are they engaged?
Okay, and so do you see the engagement, because the policy statement is about aligned systems and supports.
Yeah, I'll chime in. I mean, I hear Director Bleasner's point. For this policy though, the policy is actually getting at more process, right? We're talking about a culture. I don't know. I think this indicator is good.
Siri, do you think one of the data?
How will we know that whatever communication or support structure that's there shows that our kids are engaged in learning? How will you know that?
Well, so, that's really as we went through last year, updating the monitoring reports, I think all of us, board and staff, really learned what those evidence of compliance outcome statements need to be. And so if we're saying that all students are engaged in learning, I think then the outcome statement is exactly what you just indicated. I think if the board creates an indicator of 95%, that's actually setting a benchmark.
Fair.
And so what you stated, I think, is what an evidentiary statement would be when we're talking about, because it's engaged and learning. So I think we would need data to reflect both of those. Actually,
I would say it is actually a piece of the indicator, because you do typically set what that goal would be. This was a piece of the piece we were having and hoping to be able to go through it and resolve some of these as we discussed these reports. Because how do you know that's in compliance?
Fair. And if that's not to get into overall policy discussion too much, we would need to go through and update almost all of our indicators if that's how we want them to read. Because the majority of our indicators across OE really 3 through, is it 13, really aren't benchmarked like that.
I don't disagree, but it might be that we could start at least with the ones going forward, that we place that into play, and then we can look at how we update the other ones as well if needed.
Okay.
So Siri, I'm curious about this one because what we asked for was maintaining a school culture. And are you seriously asking him to quantitate that? I mean, I have to admit that I'm kind of cool with this where we've asked him to have a process and he said we have a process. Am I interested in diving deeper into what that process is? Not necessarily.
No, I want to know if the process is effective.
Okay, that's...
Did it accomplish what we wanted?
But yeah, that's going to be hard for some of these. I mean, hard verging on impossible.
Absolutely. So where feasible, we do it.
Okay.
My key is I want to know, are our kids engaged? All of them. And that's why we're speaking to the demographics. We're speaking to those pieces and that breakout. That really is the indicator that we're saying of compliance.
I think it's going to be really hard for John to pick out indicators to prove compliance if we don't have something, some measurable component.
Well, and that's the agreeing before he tries to measure it on what to measure. And I'm still looking at this one because the at least 10-1, we're talking about maintaining a school culture. It's not about do the students feel engaged or, I mean, this one's not even one you can answer through a student survey. We're asking for a collaborative school culture that has high expectations. And how do you measure that? Sure, you could query I guess you could put it in the teacher survey, but you know.
You could ask families, you could ask kids, the expectations are societal and family norms. That's what a piece of the expectations are.
How many high school parents know what their kids' teachers' expectations are of their children? There comes a point where I don't think you could, it's like asking people about how tall someone is who they don't know. Certainly at the elementary level that might work, but anyway, I'm mostly concerned that this is just one subcomponent of one of several where we're going to have this problem, and I'd rather focus on the important ones rather than ask John to do a deep dive on every single one of them.
I don't disagree with that, but I do think we need to be thoughtful that we don't only look at process. That has been a challenge through all of these, that we hear what is happening, not necessarily how effectively it has succeeded at what we're asking for. So
yeah, no, and the fact that I'm arguing against trying to report back on I mean, the plie has been missing the E in an awful lot of examples over the last decade. So
and right, yeah, I guess why I would toss my sword down on this one, if I were to say, is around engagement and inclusiveness on that engagement piece. That I would want clear indicators on that, because that is the remote learning and that is the equity.
Okay.
Which ties into our equity work going forward to create a policy, but also points out in that equity work the student voice that we are lacking.
So John, I don't see these two documents in our portal. It would be helpful for me if I had them in our board packet for all OE discussions, just so I can skip back and forward by one page to see what the previous page said, because I'm not sure. When we talk about equitable and aligned systems and supports, that's just the systems and supports. That's not equity per se. And I think that might be in the superset of this. Maybe it's at the top of 10, but I don't see it in the stuff we're looking at right now on the screen.
I just forwarded it to board and cabinet so you can have it.
Great, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so I'm just going to take notes as we go. And this won't be prepared. Ideally, this comes back to the board for a first reading. And so what I may do is put it back to the board for review in writing. And then if you have individually any comments around that, then I will take that feedback and then provide it for the board to have conversation at a formal board meeting for a first reading. And how does that sound as a process? Knowing that I don't think we want to wordsmith all of these, but the conversation is helpful to make sure that we're capturing what the board wants. Okay?
I guess we can move to the next one, but I just want to say, I think both the interpretation and the indicators are reasonable in light of what the policy is, which I think could use some work, actually. That seems like that's part of the issue is we don't know exactly what we're asking, but there you go.
Fair.
Okay, thank you. All right, 10.2, ensure an inclusive, equitable, welcoming, and safe school environment. So again, it's a process, and we had this conversation today in cabinet as well. It's a process indicator update. Schools have established engagement processes to address issues of equity, racial equity, and inclusion. My thinking around this was directly related to our school equity teams and some of the outcomes that will come from that, I believe, would be the data that's reported, as well as just an outcome of schools actually fulfilling the expectation of having a school equity team.
But then wouldn't the indicator just be 100% of our schools have active and functioning school equity teams?
Sorry, was that a question? I didn't catch the whole thing, Siri. Will you say that one more time?
As sort of the indicator, listening to that, if I were to think about for this year, and what 100% of our schools have, effective district equity teams. How you define effective is a whole nother ballgame, but are working. I guess that's where I keep trying to think of that's that indicator. Now, clearly there can be other engagement processes that you might use, absolutely. And I get that, but at the same time, you might want to be targeting specific things as we go through as well, if that's a key component to making the equity work across our system.
Right.
And so,
Director Stewart, Chris, I'm going to cut
sorry,
you
go
off.
ahead.
Mark has his hand raised for a minute.
That's all right. My bad.
Go ahead, Chris. 'Cause you're engaged. I'll wait after you.
Well, so I'm actually piggybacking on what Siri said for this one. The phrasing of 10.2 is ensure a blank 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 environment. It doesn't say attempt to provide a blank 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 environment. If it was attempt to provide, then having established processes would be enough. But ensuring that we have successfully provided it, which is how I interpret it, ensure, and maybe let me see if that's in somewhere. Yeah, so you've got sort of in here that it's that the students have a strong sense of connection and belonging. So your superintendent interpretation is along the lines of it was provided. Therefore, the indicator of compliance should have a dimension to it, which is, did students feel that it was inclusive, equitable, welcoming, and safe? And so that would be, I'm with you on this one. Okay, I'll have the talking stick.
Okay. My concern is that, it's one thing to establish engagement processes. It's another to me to, okay, I established the processes. Now what am I doing with it? What am I doing to demonstrate that I'm actually reaching out? Are there programs that I can implement that the district has shared with me, and I've already started implementing to do this? See where I'm going? I want to see something tangible, as opposed to saying we have the policy and we have processes out there. Well, are the processes being implemented? And maybe I'm just saying the same thing y'all are saying different. That's all.
Okay.
Okay.
I think I'll just say the board. The superintendent is volunteering to us that we will evaluate him on whether all the schools have established these processes. I don't want to scratch that off the list. I think these are helpful things to ensuring an inclusive, equitable, and welcoming school environment. And I would expect that our schools would have those at a minimum. So I think I want to retain this as an indicator of compliance. I do think it's important for this. We have some measurable outcome. And I think we do have that with the first, where we are surveying students. So, okay. Mark, your hand's still up.
Yeah, I hear you, Eric. I agree that this ought to stay in, and I'm wondering if there's enough meat on the bones, though. That'd be my only thought. If they were to be able to show some kind of measurement, or you know, if we're going to measure John against this, then there has to be some kind of measurement for John to be able to show us that the schools are doing such and such. You see where I'm going?
Yeah, and I think, well,
Extent?
I think the report would have to document that and show that, that schools have those and provide evidence of it.
And so how would we know
Okay.
it was in compliance, that it met the standard that we were saying? Would that be that all of them have it? Would it be that 50% do? Would it be that?
Mhm.
So it's looking at how do you
Yeah.
say yes? And so that it's not then dependent on, well, I think it's this. And
Yeah,
Mark thinks
well-
it's this, and Eric thinks it's this.
No, that's right. I mean, the answer is you put the word all in front of schools.
There you go.
I was just going to ask if we have a standard expectation for all schools to be doing the same thing or a similar process.
We do.
I think
And
we
I-
have to be quite
then-
frank.
And so my next question
Yeah,
to the,
otherwise, we don't have a district policy. We have a school policy.
So,
I did-
Dr. Holman?
to Siri's question or comment, wouldn't we need to then rewrite indicators 1 and 2 for 10.2 as well?
Ideally, one would have a number in front of it. Yes, I would agree that say percentage of some kind, but you were trying to get a baseline for that one, so there was no reason to have to do it then, right? Because the idea was, well, what's the baseline, and then how do you improve it from there?
Okay.
And the other actually is a pretty clear, you have policies that do this.
All right.
And that's a process indicator as well.
Absolutely. I'm only looking at the red ones because that's what we're looking at tonight.
Great. Okay. All right. Let's see. 10.3, ensure that all policies and procedures regarding discipline are collaboratively developed, appropriately communicated to students and parents, and enforced consistently using reasonable judgment. So my addition to this was disproportionality of discipline is reduced or is eliminated. And disproportionality is it's a specific data point that we actually monitor and we've reported previously. And so in thinking about all of this, that seemed to be the piece that was potentially missing.
Yeah.
I would just add over time
agree with-
potentially or trends.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, yeah, that'd be my question is what is reduced? What does that, what do you mean by that, John?
What do I mean by reduced?
Yeah, I mean, is it from the prior year?
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe Matt can jump in and talk about our disproportionality. We have a significantly low discipline rate as a district already. And even with that low rate, we still see patterns of disproportionality for our Black and brown students, our students receiving special education services. And so we have those rates right now. Those have been reported to the board over a number of years. And so it's continuing. So reduction is just seeing a consistent downward trend, if you will, so that there isn't a difference based on factors, that our discipline is actually implemented in a similar manner regardless of those factors.
Okay,
So a consistent declining trend
yeah, something like
or
that.
is eliminated.
Yeah,
Just build in a concept of over time.
Yep. Thank you. Okay. So I'm just going to skip the ones that I didn't add an additional indicator.
That'll make our life easier.
Okay, 10.6. the superintendent may not tolerate any behaviors, actions, or attitudes by adults who have contact with students that hinder the academic performance or the well-being of students. And so here I just referenced the adoption of administrative policy related to equity, racial equity, and inclusion. So again, it's a process because it's about adoption of policy, but given that that's where we are with the work, I think that's appropriate.
Here's, yeah, I think this is a good addition. Here's again, I think Siri did raise it. I've been marinating on Siri's point more. And I do think, this is another place where student survey data is, that's how we can know, or we can, that is the data I think that's how we can know whether this is occurring. I don't know that we have that today. Chris, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to chime in and say that it's sort of a both and thing, because developing and adopting the policy this year is obviously a high value. But the question on how do you measure the experience of students in the district under this policy is still something that one could extract from a student survey of some sort. So I don't think they're in any way mutually exclusive. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Director Stewart? Mark, you may be on mute.
Off there.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's on. Oh, okay. In the inclusion section in that statement, it seems you also need to have a parent component there for a survey, because I want to know from parents, because that really, the inclusion to me goes to a lot of the differently abled kids and for special needs environment being included in typical classrooms. So I think in addition to asking the students if they feel included, you're going to have to ask the parents too, because a lot of those students will not be able really to say yay or nay. And so I want to know from the parents, do they feel their students being included or not?
John, question for you. We add this indicator, in the next month or so. When would the first time the board, when would the first time the board be evaluating you whether?
Yeah, you cut out just a little bit there, but I think what you're asking is
The district had adopted this policy.
when will we monitor these?
I'm going without video. I think my baby monitor's on.
Yeah, my intention is to monitor them this year, and that's why we're doing it early in the year. It's also, as we get into OE11, you'll also see much more commentary around remote learning. And that was kind of the genesis of this conversation, was how do we evaluate remote learning in terms of board policy and monitoring.
Right. Okay, thanks. Are you able to hear me? Is everyone able to hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, now
I'm
you're
going to
back.
go without video for a little while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, and that's the end of OE10. And so when I jump over to OE11, can you still see this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, great comments on OE10. Thank you. All right, this is a policy that really is driven in Mike's division of teaching and learning, and so it's about the instructional program. It says the superintendent shall maintain a program of instruction that offers challenging and relevant opportunities for all students to achieve at levels defined in the board's results policies. And with the lens of thinking about students in remote learning, that's where we started. And so 11.1 says, assure that instructional programs are based on a comprehensive and objective review of effective practices and research. And so knowing that that policy statement is related to effective practices in research, added an indicator that the 2021 remote learning implements effective or evidence-based practices. And thinking about the data that would come from that, it would be reporting what was used really as the benchmark for our professional learning and training for staff.
Chris?
I gotta say on this one, all I need is that Mike's team endorsed it. So I know you guys have done a tremendous amount of work in this realm this year, and I appreciate adding that, but it's really something where the evidence-based practices, the research that's going on at warp speed, and Lord knows how many long nights. So I'm just anticipating your report that you can do a lot and just say reference back to all of our reports.
Yes. And this is, we actually did benchmark our professional learning for staff with evidence-based practices. And so we'll be able to report on that as well as kind of the ongoing work that we're doing this year. Okay. Okay, 11.4 is the next. It says the superintendent will effectively measure each student's progress toward achieving or exceeding the standards. And this was an interesting one where we didn't exactly know what would occur. But as of this point in time, Smarter Balanced is going to be required, and so we left that in here. Well, it's really the entire state assessment program is in play, and so we didn't really have to update this much, with the exception of our adoption of FastBridge, which replaced our DIBELS literacy assessment. So you can see it's updated there for, instead of DIBELS literacy for grade 2 end of year, it's FastBridge. And then also, in addition, reporting out data around FastBridge literacy and math screening and progress monitoring for grades K-8, indicating student growth from beginning of the year to end of year.
Chris, I have a question for you. Go ahead.
Well, actually, okay, I was just going to say, so FastBridge, DIBELS was just K2, so FastBridge is going to give us K8 data?
Correct.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you.
Just a question on that bullet point. It says for grades K-8 indicates student growth from beginning of year. That is what it does, right? It measures student growth. We're not saying it shall show that the students grow, because that would not be part of an OE. That would be an ER.
Right.
Okay.
Mike, do you want to talk about the outcome measures that we'll get from FastBridge?
Yeah, so again, I think like we said, what it does is it measures literacy in math. The nice thing is it's got a huge database of students from all over the country who take it, so you can see how our students compare to others, but it also benchmarks where students should be in literacy and math by grade level. So, at the beginning of a year, it will tell you, okay, kids in 3rd grade should be at this point. With a year's worth of growth, they should be at this point. And then so you can see if we've made at least a year's worth of growth or more. So it's a tool that we haven't had in the system until now. It's pretty exciting. It's our first year of implementation. And so just tomorrow, in fact, we're working with our elementary principals to talk about how we're going to be administering it in a remote setting. It's a computer delivered test, so students actually sit at a device and take it, and then teachers get data reports back. So there is a pretty heavy implementation phase that we're in right now to make this happen.
So for SBA and well, I guess my question is, for the first set, we're saying 95% of students are tested. What percentage of students are we thinking will be tested using FastBridge for literacy?
Our goal is 100%. As you know, with smarter balance. We have families, and there was
Yeah.
a movement before, I don't think it's quite as significant now, of families who chose to opt out. We have students that are older that just say, I don't need this assessment, though that's changed a little bit. With FastBridge, though, the expectation is we get every kid. And so, for example, if a student's absent, we would test them on another day. I mean, there may be a small number where a family says, I really don't want you testing my kid, but we're not anticipating that. So the goal would be to assess every student. Like I said, I think this year really is going to be implementing, figuring it out, making sure it works. And so it really is, like you're saying, I think an implementation stage. And so
Okay.
I think we should still shoot for 100%. It might be a little bit less than that, but.
Okay. Great.
Okay.
Any other comments?
All right, 11.5, superintendent will assure that the instructional program includes opportunities for students to develop talents and interests in their specialized areas of interest. And so thinking about the practices and outcomes from those practices in our curriculum piece, I think we also heard public comment around that tonight. Added an indicator. The district uses a process to review and implement curriculum that better represents the diversity, experiences, and racial makeup of students in our district.
Sarah, you want to go first?
You're welcome to.
No, go ahead. I meant to actually take my hand down.
If you could actually just scroll down for a second, I just wanted to read the actual policy above that. So I can't see anything these days with this print. And so this makes me think of, as we hear the public comment around curriculum and different components, this is sort of, to me, a piece of where that falls in the sense of equity in many ways. And I can understand the process, but again, I would think there's a piece of, are we actually doing it? Can we demonstrate that we have a diverse set of classes that do this? Can we demonstrate that? I just know we did a lot of work even over the last 8 years since I've been on the board, where you've sort of aligned across all the schools. I remember middle school science and math and looking at those options, AP offerings throughout all our high schools. This, to me, is that same thing. How well are we with electives and addressing the differing backgrounds that we have now and what we do to bring that in? So the process is important, but I want to know the compliance piece to me is that we have it. I can go to the school catalog and I can see it. I can hear it happening in different places. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, and I think it's also a function of the scale of the task too. I mean, I guess we would have to think about what makes sense given where we are right now. So, for example, I think in public comment there was some legislation mentioned tonight, and really that was to say to OSPI, make resources available, and then we have an obligation to take advantage of those resources and incorporate them into our curriculum. I mean, we're in a great place right now because we're reviewing and adopting social studies curriculum at the secondary level. I mean, perfect place to start, right? So would it be, the social studies curriculum includes components of history that represent, Black and Hispanic students to a greater extent? I think that might be, because I think you could also then go to math and science, right. and right now the way we do adoptions is kind of in a stage-based approach.
So the question would be, is that indicator better saying the district's curriculum, right, represents the diversity, experience, and racial makeup of the students in our district? Mm-hmm. And then under that, you might be attacking different components of that as you go through it. But that's sort of the overarching indicator. But then it might take 5 years, right? That you chunk it.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Mark, your hand went up.
Yes, sir. As I look at this and I look at listen to Siri's discussion about how we've implemented the various changes as she looks through the course calendar and what can be taken and so forth, I'm wondering if, as we make these adjustments, as Mike looks at new curriculum in the the secondary and high school history classes, social studies classes. I'm concerned that when we do it, it's not being visible enough to enough of the parents. If I've got kids in elementary school, I'm not going to know that you've got all these diversity classes or classes that represent diversity in high school. So I think there's some way, in some manner, we have to be able to send people to page X on the website saying, okay, these are the programs that have been implemented. These are the educational opportunities, whether it's a class in this or that, whether it's a new that we've implemented new curriculum in world history for seniors or whatever. See where I'm going? The idea that it's one thing to do the work, but if no one knows you've done it, it doesn't matter. And if you implement new classes and the kids really, they've got the list, but if they aren't pointed, it's not pointed out to them, this is new, and this is one of the reasons we have it in the curriculum. That would stimulate to me as a student, gee, I might want to take that. Just a thought from the cheap seats.
Yeah. Sarah, your hand's still raised. Did you have anything else to add? No?
No, I just forgot to lower it.
Okay. I think this indicator is a good addition. But I think that I like Siri's proposed revision to it.
Yep, thank you. Okay, 11.6, superintendent will assure the instructional program accommodates the different learning styles of students and differentiates instruction to meet the needs of students of various backgrounds and abilities. So the additional proposed indicator that remote learning instructional program provides students the opportunity for extension and remediation.
Good.
I have an and I want to put there. And the students do better. I mean, it's just that and it's shown to be effective. And
Great, yep.
I don't have the and, I just know that that's what I want.
I think the challenge is better as compared to what? I mean, this is really our baseline year. And so I even like to say, well, we can look at other districts and their assessment scores, but everybody's kind of in this first phase. So
Well, I think this is when you disaggregate, right? And you're going to look across it that way. And so you're going to be looking at, I guess the easiest cut would be thinking if you use 504 as well as I know we split out the special education by type of qualification they had for it. So I think dyslexia would be one of the places that I would look, because I think that could be a big impact. We've had a big push there. And how do we confirm that we're still succeeding in that area? I guess that's what is the and piece that I would be looking for. And extension, ask, were you bored? Did we succeed in keeping you? I don't know.
and in relation to peer groups, right? So I think that would be helpful as well.
And at no additional cost. I mean, some students have done the summer school piece for remediation. There's a cost factor.
Yeah.
Okay.
John, are you getting what you need from the board in response to that?
Absolutely. Okay. I'll ask questions. I'll be specific if I'm not. Okay. I'm just taking notes here. Okay, 11.8, superintendent will encourage new and innovative programs, carefully monitoring and evaluating the effectiveness of all such programs at least annually. One of the things we said today about this, we believe moving to remote learning is the definition of innovation, but so we tried to capture it in this statement. Remote learning implements systems and digital applications required for student engagement, access, and learning.
Yeah. So here's my question, and this is probably too big to answer here, is how would you know you were effective at implementing the remote learning? What would tell us that? I don't think that's an indicator, but that's what I'm sort of looking at. That's the piece. How would we know?
Well, we're going to have participation rates like we were sharing tonight. So are students actually using the tools, the platforms, at what rates? We'll have our achievement data through our screening and progress monitoring. We'll have grades. We'll have state assessment scores. But I think, you hit on some things earlier too of asking students, like, we are hearing from some students, I love the flexibility I have in my remote learning now. I can do things when it makes sense to me. We're hearing from other students, this is not working for me. So I think that would be another really good measure too of, what's your experience? How helpful is it to you? Is it making a difference for you? What might help it be more meaningful for you? Would be interesting.
So what might be interesting this time is, as we had talked about student voice and the student advisory council as well, is maybe being able to tack in some of those, hold these conversations with them and have them help facilitate those maybe in other places. So as opposed to a survey, truly dialogue it. Yeah. This doesn't have to be quantitative. It can use sort of the experiences that we hear as well. That's what monitoring is about. It's not necessarily only a number.
And what I would love to see is, are there things we do in remote learning that when we're back in person, some kids would go, this actually worked, and so we could actually continue to provide that to you because we figured it out.
No, I think that's great. There's good stuff in there, so that might be the piece. What worked? What do we keep? What do we keep building on? I think the 9 o'clock start time people are liking. So.
Anyone else? Oh, Mark?
Yeah, the 9 o'clock start time came up again today with a lot of commentary with the primary reason that we did not go to it was the logistical problem with transportation. There is quite a bit of comment from the parents why we couldn't go to the later starts now. That said, I'm hearing from other families that their kids in class till 5 something. So I don't know is it worth switching the system just while we're in remote if we're only going to be here for a year?
Yep. All right. John, you want to keep going?
Yep. So 11.9, superintendent will assure the instructional program includes a compelling and realistic vision of technology that specifies technology use in the learning environment, integration of technology into content areas across all grade levels, and integration of adaptive technology as appropriate. So the indicator that we added was implementation of technology, hardware and software, support a robust remote learning environment and delivery platform.
I was just going to comment briefly. I remember my first year here, Siri was pushing us to have remote meetings. I think it was our instructional materials committee, and we didn't hit a certain target to have a quorum. And Siri said, can't you just do this remotely? Like, figure it out. And here we are these many years later, and look at us. We figured it out.
Well, it is amazing what crisis can do.
It took 8 years?
6. I remember Matt Montebianco pulled me in and said, you've got to figure out how to do your meetings remotely. And I went, okay.
I do think it has opened up a lot of opportunities, though, the whole remote piece, and it just allows a little more equitable access as well for people. You take out travel, you take out so many different components.
Yeah. Yeah, our training, it's really helping too. We're typically limited by building space to bring people together and travel time and things like that. And now we can.
So you remember that conversation I had too? Of let's just teach them remotely because it'd be easier than hauling them in.
Yep.
I think it's fine.
Okay. Scrolling down to the next one. So 11.12, superintendent will protect the instructional time provided for students during the academic day. And so the indicator we added was schedule for remote learning provides adequate time for direct instruction and student work time.
Yeah.
And that's the end.
Okay.
And so, Eric, would you agree if I take a run at OE 11 and 12 again and then provide it to the board in writing, that that's the next step for this?
Yeah.
Get individual comments back, finalize it, and then put it on a upcoming board agenda for discussion for a first reading. And then if there's refinement based on that discussion, we can do that as well.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that the next step, there are additional edits or just wordsmithing. That's easier to do in writing.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And that's that's all I had for OE 10 and 11. I appreciate the conversation. It's always helpful.
Okay, the next item on our agenda for the study session is a review of the 2020 legislative priorities and platform.
For WASDA.
For WASDA, thank you.
Okay. So for anybody listening that isn't familiar, WASDA refers to the Washington State School Directors Association, and it's an agency that supports all 295 school districts in the state of Washington. And their assembly for reviewing permanent positions and legislative proposals for the legislative session is called General Assembly, and it's going to be held virtually on September 25th. And as the legislative representative, I've been given the nod to be the person who casts the votes. And I want to make certain that anything that well, let me back up. Siri did a lot of work. I know you said it's copy and paste, but that was a lot of time. That would have taken me way longer to take all of the permanent position proposals and new proposals and legislative positions and put them into a survey so each of us could read through and, agree or disagree or pass as consolidated or do not pass as recommended, whatever the case may be. And when we tallied all of those up, again, Siri tallied all of those up. We didn't, Siri did. It looks like we have a few that are not in agreement that we should probably discuss before I go and cast a vote on anything. So to that end, I emailed you guys a spreadsheet that says, well, this one looks like it says copy of 2020 final WASDA. If you see that Excel spreadsheet, if you'd like to reference what we're doing, if you're seeing it, and I don't know if John has that copy and can put it on the screen, but the areas where we didn't agree are the orange highlighted areas, areas where, say, two or more of us said, I'm unsure or I disagree. That really looked like things we should probably have a conversation about. The green areas, we all agree. The yellow areas, I called everybody or tried to that had, an uncertain position, or maybe even were the only do not, to ask them what their concerns were and talked through them. And I think all of those have been resolved. So we're really focusing on where we didn't have agreement, which again will be the orange rows. So the first tab is permanent proposal survey summary, and that should have about 16 rows. Does everybody see that? And the two orange are at the top? I think you're muted, Siri.
It's on the screen now. It's great.
Yeah,
I was
I'm
reading
sharing
my
my
own
screen. Is everyone able
copy.
to see it?
Thank you.
Good.
So I also emailed everybody a copy of the handbook, which describes the proposal, any changes made to it, any new proposals, and that's just called the General Assembly Handbook. So if you want to refer to that as we go through, I'm hoping this won't take a whole lot of time, but let's start with the permanent proposal summary, and it's 0.A.1, top of the screen here, equity statement. And it reads, hold on a sec. So the current position statement is equity is foundational to the work of WASDA. Educational equity can only exist when a student's level of opportunity and achievement cannot be predicted based upon race, characteristics, or circumstances. Therefore, we must identify and eliminate any discriminatory practices and prejudices within our state's public education system. And that was just adopted last year. And I'm not going to read the rest to you, but you can see right next to it is the proposed amendment. And it is taking out a few of the defining terms from the original and placing in sort of characteristics. And I would love it for anybody who had concerns about this to go ahead and voice their concerns.
I'm trying to find it so I can display
Oh.
it. I'm trying to remember if I was one of the people who voted no.
Oh, Siri, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, so just in regards to this amendment, the initial proposal that was adopted last year actually, had spent about 2 years being worked through with the board of WASDA, and on there it had come through a committee that way, and then it had been approved by WASDA board actually over a year ago, and then last year at Delegate Assembly it came forward to all the delegates. So that's been the initial adoption. The concern from both the at the Equity Caucus that we held in August, the discussion that took place on that amendment was the belief that that amendment was actually watering down what the strength of that initial proposal is. And I would agree with that. Our goal really is the public school system, and it sort of is a stronger, broader policy stance. And the amendments are actually making it more operational as opposed to more value-based driven, which is what it should be. So that's why I don't support the amendment, nor did the Equity Action Caucus, did not either. We were all pretty much like, no, would not be our priority to support that.
And I agree. I think it took, an incredibly powerful statement and belief, value, and sort of watered it down so it's not quite as strong. And if we're looking at a statewide, which is WASDA is statewide issues, not Lake Washington issues, I would hate to see anything water it down. Mark.
Yeah, to be quite frank, a couple of these, I couldn't see where they were going from and to be quite frank, whether they were getting stricter or less strict, and perhaps this may be one of them. So if we're watering down something, no, I wouldn't be in favor of that whatsoever. It's just a matter of, to be quite frank, in that survey, there were times that I was going from 4 different sites to try and figure out what the hell was going on. So I'd be in favor of keeping it stricter.
Yeah, it's ironic. They edited 2 sentences. The first sentence, I agree with their edits because characteristics such as race allows you to speak to characteristics such as poverty, characteristics such as ability. So I would have liked if it was just that one. But the second one, now that you pointed out, yeah, they really watered down that second sentence. And that's where the meat of it is. And so I'm comfortable with changing that to a do not pass.
Is there any way we can split that?
Actually, at this point, I don't believe that there is, because I think all amendments had to go prior. Cassandra can speak to that specifically. Yeah. I would also push back that I'm not sure changing to such as is actually beneficial. Part of the reason it was at the broader perspective is because all those fall under it. It's actually a much broader, and actually it draws out race specifically, circumstances or characteristics, so it doesn't get lost within those things. The idea was that it really was stronger originally.
And the opportunity to propose an amendment has passed.
You can't amend from the floor?
Not in
I've
the
never seen
virtual
that.
world.
It's virtual this year, and they're trying to find a way to make it
That's
all
crap.
work. And that's one that they can't pull
I'm
off.
sorry.
All right, I'm convinced. I'm in agreement with.
Okay, and then the second line there is the conservation 3.A.2. If you have your handbook in front of you, let me find it.
Can everyone see that?
Yes, thank you very much.
Here.
So you can see WASDA encourages school boards to adopt policies intended to maximize efforts at conservation to increase the efficiency of operations and extend the Earth's resources. And they've added a proposal for conservation and stewardship. Oh, I just missed it.
There we are.
There we go. WASDA encourages school boards to adopt policies intended to promote fiscal and environmental conservation and stewardship. So for those that disagreed with this proposal, I will entertain dialogue now.
I think
Any comments, right?
I was unsure on this one because I didn't understand why we were combining environmental conservation with fiscal stewardship. So I was a little confused actually when I read their amendments because it didn't seem like it was truly the current position.
I believe I was unsure on this as well.
Is it possible they were looking to that not only were you going to maximize your efforts, but you're actually going to put your money where your mouth is? Is that what they're looking for?
I am not sure.
Just a thought.
Yeah, this is like two different things in one. It's like compound, right?
That was my take, is that they didn't fit, and I don't know why they did it.
I don't recall my initial vote on this, but now I think it's a bad idea. So I'm against the amendment.
Okay, so against. All right, and if we could have the other tab opened and displayed.
Is everyone else? I don't know. Seems kind of strange.
Oh, sorry, I didn't ask for
Seems like
everybody.
they combined two resolutions.
Yeah, no, that's my sense.
I'm with Eric.
If we go to the second,
Carefully, and I don't need to dissect this one. No, I'm good with saying no.
okay. If
Yeah.
we go to the tab that says ledge positions,
Yeah, sorry.
no, that's okay. Okay, so again, the top in the orange sections are the ones where we didn't have agreement. So if we look at linking graduation requirements to career pathways, it looks like two of us said pass and two were unsure. So is there anybody who was unsure who would like to speak, or anybody who wanted it to pass that would like to speak?
I was unsure, and I don't want to speak.
Thank you for being succinct.
Honestly, I'm more interested in dissecting the one where we actually had some disagreement between do pass and do not pass. There were two of them that were real interesting there.
Well, at the moment, this seems like it doesn't pass because it didn't get a majority of votes. So I want anyone who thinks it should pass to have that opportunity.
I'll be honest. At some point, I was trying to answer things, and I got into a section where I couldn't find it in the handbook, so I just hit unsure on all of them. So I don't have a strongly felt unsure on a whole bunch of these.
I'm glad you told me that. I was really worried about you.
Yeah, you should worry about me, but that's not why.
Okay. So what?
I don't remember how I answered, but I think this is fine. And if I answered unsure, it's,
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Okay.
It just looks like it's wordsmithing.
Yeah.
So everybody is okay with a pass on this one?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. So the next one is on special education and special needs students. 2 of us said pass, and again, 3 said unsure.
But this one, I believe, is because it was combining those two.
Yes, that's right.
It was a consolidation.
Right, it was a consolidation.
And so
Sure,
I had to
set
put it
10.
in the survey twice. You had to vote on the consolidation, and if the consolidation lost, you had to do each one individually. And I think that was confusing to people.
It
Yeah,
rema-
that's probably
remains
the
confusing.
case.
And my default vote when it's confusing is unsure.
That did seem to be what it was, yes.
Won the club.
But I think we all agreed that the consolidation made sense.
Yeah, so I just didn't know how to vote in favor of
Right.
consolidating.
Anybody else agree consolidation makes sense?
Sure.
No, if you keep bouncing that thing around, I'm gonna get seasick.
I'm sorry. I forgot other people could look at the screen.
Okay, so that takes care of line 3 and 4, is that correct? Siri, because those were the 2 on consolidation?
Yep.
Okay. So, looking back at our spreadsheet, row number 5 is comprehensive student safety. And we again had 2 pass and 3 unsure.
Do I have the right one here?
I think so.
I think so too.
Yeah, that was it, the new one. Yep, that's it.
Okay.
Okay, if you'll just take a moment and read through this, and those of you who are unsure, if you would let me know if you're sure of something now.
What if we're unsure if we were unsure then?
Don't confuse me this late at night.
Actually, this time I meant to be unsure. My concern when you talk about student safety is that it can be interpreted as specifically we want more SROs and we want more, armed guards in school, we want metal detectors. And I'm far more in favor of prevention. I just didn't see that explicitly in here as opposed to safety.
I think this was trying to say you need student voice in which to go about developing those things. I'm just not sure you legislate it.
Yeah, and exactly.
Right.
I mean, I looked at it and it was like, I didn't see where it was going, and I could see how it could be misinterpreted in ways I didn't like it. So that was my unsure.
Yeah, there are a few of these that I either didn't know or unsure where I just thought while I agree with the idea behind it, doing it by legislation and we're putting it on the districts rather than, this is something I think we should be doing is having student voice in student safety, but I don't know that I want the legislature saying how we go about doing that.
So you guys, what I'm hearing is you're okay with a do not pass on this. Is there an opportunity at General Assembly for discussion as to why? So that I could point this out? Okay.
Yeah.
You just go up with the red card at the time to speak, and you can speak for the other side.
Yeah, but if it's remote, can she?
My
do
TV
that?
screen here.
Yeah, you can still do that. That still happens.
Yeah, I think they're gonna have a hand.
Well, if you can do a red card, why the hell can't you do an amendment?
I'm not going to answer that because I know they've
That's
been working on
stupid.
it very hard to determine how you do this correctly with parliamentary procedures within a
Yeah.
virtual environment. So I am not going to, I know they got some great parliamentarians working on it to make sure you do it as best they can.
I'm glad
I
that's
won't
not my
comment on their intelligence.
This is good stuff. Yeah, I guess I would vote do not pass. I think I voted unsure before.
Okay. Well, that's why it's very helpful to have this brief discussion. Okay, row 6, flexibility of grad requirements. 2 pass, 2 unsure, and 1 do not pass. So, thank you, Eric.
of, oh, there we are.
You got it. Give you a second to read. I think I remember what my concern was.
Let's hear it.
Would anybody else like to speak to it?
No, I was positive on this one.
Yeah, I'd like to hear your concern.
I'm a little concerned that we're kind of letting our standards slip. I don't know how long we're going to be in this current position, and I'm not sure I want to relegate us to that much flexibility through 2024. At some point, we have to get back on track, and with remote learning being adjusted as we go along to increase outcomes, at some point, we can't use COVID-19 as the reason that you need to be flexible and give more options to kids.
That's a really good point.
I hear you on that, but class 2024 is this year's freshman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And realistically, it's at least one semester, possibly two, of opportunities that there are going to be some classes that can't be taught. And so that's where I think that there are things that could have impacted on a kid's plan for how they were going to get through high school, where they might have missed out on something. Now, admittedly, as a freshman, you should have a lot of flexibility. And I get your point about, I take your point about concerns with relaxing standards. But it's really framed very closely that it's not just that they missed it, but that they missed it because of one of these declarations. And so I was comfortable with how tightly that was written.
Anybody else? Mark?
Yeah, I'm concerned with the fact that as hard as we try technologically to get every kid hooked up, and I'm thinking of the lower income students who everything you can do, it's still not going to be the perfect environment for them to, or the level playing field, I should say, for them to be able to not have an effect on their abilities to do the coursework. I'm concerned that we're building in an inequitable status, if you will, for those students if we don't go ahead and pass this. I understand you don't want to slip on your standards, but at the same time, I think we're going to have to take a look at, there's going to be a number of students that, because of whether they may be the only ones at home supervising their three other siblings who also are online. So I think there's going to have to be some flexibility here.
That's fair.
So the question that I would have on that is, where does that flexibility come from? Then it's also, do you look at mastery-based credit learning? Do you look at other ways in which you can address these things, which we did, if you think about, in March through, right? We looked at different ways that you could get credits. My concern with this is how do you keep pressure on, you're right, it's a challenging environment, but where's the silver lining that we can shift some things forward that need to happen? And there's been always argument about the 24 credit, shouldn't have it. And I will say we've been able to, at least it expanded our school day. We've been able to take that. I think, I would agree with Cassandra. I'm concerned that it waters down what happens. I also think it removes some pressure that we have to be thinking outside the box and do things differently. Because you're right. If we do what we always do, we'll have issues with kids graduating. If we can shift what we do, then we won't.
Mike?
I was just going to say, I think what Siri mentioned, think about what we did offer kids, and I think they were in line with the values of the board. So, for example, a competency-based credit. you passed a state assessment with a course for a content area that is equivalent to what's taught in a course, and we say, you know what, you've demonstrated mastery, so that allows you to bypass the requirement to take algebra, for example, because you've passed Smarter Balanced at a 3 or higher. Or we said comparable courses, or courses that are actually more significantly rigorous but are in the same content area. And remember, we also ran those through the board. What that allowed us to do, though, is it saved, you know, it's not just a kid who can't connect and we need to figure out a better way to connect. It might be a kid who's sick. It might be a kid whose parents are out of a job and they just can't, for whatever reason, connect. And we can say to that kid, look, you passed the Smarter Balanced assessment. You demonstrated competency. You took this more rigorous course. You demonstrated competency. That will allow you to graduate, as opposed to saying, yeah, sorry, you didn't pass it. You need to go through summer. And so I think, you know, speaking to the concern is these all, as you remember, went through you. We came to you, said, this is our best thinking. Now, granted, some of those were rushed and we were making pretty quick decisions, and I would imagine there'd be much more questioning. But I do know, and I can speak to individual students, that this allowed to cross the line and graduate. And we all know how important that is for a student's long-term success, not only for career, but for college entrance, for long-term, you know, long-term income, for opportunities. And sometimes it's that 1 or 2 classes that could make all the difference. So I guess I would just strongly advocate it has made a difference for kids. There are accountability measures built in, and there are some things that are in line with the values of the board that I think would be worth consideration, at least.
Definitely competency, mastery of skills is just another way that a student can show their knowledge. And I think we need to be looking at all those options now, regardless.
I don't know if I'm in favor of the position.
Okay, so what was the overall?
I think it was 3-2.
3-2 still?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yay.
Wait, what? I might have got Mark's vote wrong.
I'm saying yay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 3-2.
More flexible.
You can argue that the flexibility comes from saying that you have the flexibility. I'm thinking of what Mike's comments just were. So if this allows people to do more competency-based crediting, that's a good thing. If it says you only need 20 credits to graduate, I'm not convinced that's a good thing.
I agree.
And maybe it's written so that it's not clear, and that's why I'm having difficulty getting behind it, I guess.
I also agree.
Well, we can amendment.
You know, I think it could be appropriate then. I mean, I think it's, even though I think the board is more in favor of passing this than not, I think it would be appropriate for you to share your concerns.
Yep.
I think a number of, I mean, I share them. So at least, and Siri did too. So that's at least the majority of the board.
And this is something where the
I think you have to. Go ahead.
So the irony is that the class that this matters for the most is this year's 2020.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so it's either goes into the platform or it becomes irrelevant. It goes stale real fast. And I'm not concerned for our students, because I think that, as Mike laid out, that we found a way around that is within the existing rules. For me, it was a matter of fairness to students in other districts who might not have had the capacity to do something that creative.
That's a good point. It is a position on a statewide advocacy piece.
Yeah. So anyway, it certainly doesn't get to the top of my list of priorities, but it's one that I'm still on net in favor of.
Yeah, I think you voice your concerns, Cassandra, and you point out the weaknesses in this, in the way that this is written, and the fact that we aren't allowed to amend it raises serious concerns. Because God, you could water it down, way down if you wanted to, or you could also then have the legislature could say, well, we want proof that our money is being well spent, and so you're going to ratchet it up. So I think you say yes, but with reservations.
Is that a category? Is there an orange card?
There is not.
No.
Well, and keep in mind as
Screw the
well,
card.
you
Just
can-
do it.
you can litigate this
The hell
on
with the
the
card.
details.
The
but
card
this-
don't matter at this point.
Yeah, the vote that matters is in the legislature. I mean, this is really
Right.
about is the WASDA going to get behind legislation that
Mhm.
provides loopholes? I would imagine there will be substantial conversation around, oh my God, we've got this thing where they're opening up a loophole you can drive a truck through. So we're not the only backstop for making sure they did it right.
Yeah. Good point. Okay, I will definitely speak to that one. I better go brush up on how I can, when that part of the program occurs.
Yeah.
So row 7 is equitable levy collections for small school districts.
I was
And
wrong. Moving me to do not pass. It was number 52 and I was tired.
Okay, anybody else want to weigh in on that?
You want to show it to us so we can figure it out?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're good on that one?
As do
You wanna
not
show it
pass.
to us?
As do
I-
not, yes.
I have it up, I think.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I've got flexibility on graduation still.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
it changed for me.
Oh, yeah, I do remember reading this and going,
Yeah.
I think 5,000 per student is a lot of money.
it's just it's just, I think it's like kind of clunky too, yeah. So anyway, I think,
Trying to raise the levy cap.
yeah,
Okay, so we're good with do not pass there. And then, is this another comprehensive school safety? The other one must have been a permanent position. So row 8, comprehensive
was new.
school safety.
this is the, I think this is the prior one.
Oh, okay. So we've already gone over it,
Still
maybe.
got flexibility.
I think this is it. I think do I have this right?
Mhm.
Sorry, everyone,
Yeah.
for going so fast here.
That was
I think this is the addition. Can everyone see?
Nope. Still got flexibility on my screen.
Well,
Then that's your internet, Mark. Something's
Yeah.
up.
You go to the WASDA
Oh, okay.
website and
Should have
download
break
the
me.
handbook.
I'll send you a link.
Don't worry about it. Just go ahead.
Okay.
I'll go with the group. To be quite frank, at this point, we're getting a little bit on the minutia side of things that will never make the top 20.
Well, I was in favor of this. I can't remember. I'm kind of curious if anyone was against it, what the thinking was.
I'm in agreement that the changes need to happen, that those are the changes that do align with everything in
Yeah.
regards to legislation and pieces. I think my challenge is the whole piece of should you be funding school resource officers is a whole nother component of conversation, but that's not for this legislative piece.
Right. I mean, this amendment just imposes additional training. Right.
Which I think we've already required in our district.
So we would agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yes on that one?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. nourishing public schools and police partnerships, amended or clarified. And 3 of us said pass, which I'm not sure means amended or clarified.
Well,
Oh,
at least
so
I
this
got
is
a
a
chart up this time.
consolidation. Oh, this is
Woohoo.
offering limited food service.
I get to see it this time.
So I don't think any of our jurisdictions allow their officers to have a school lunch or a cup of coffee. Actually, not our, yeah, our municipalities don't allow their officers to receive anything at no charge. They are allowed to buy their lunch there if they want to. But it's more of a police policy.
Where in the world did this come from?
You know, it was some school district that really wanted to do it.
Yeah, I think I did.
Yeah,
sure,
it sounds
'cause-
like we're talking.
I
we're
don't
talking,
think it's going to be a.
Chicago or something. Where you're getting things on the arm.
I don't think it's going to be a ledge priority.
This is not making my top 20.
I think the amendments are fine. I
Well,
just
they-
find the whole thing
I'll-
kind of
I'll-
confusing.
I would just not vote for it, period. But
I can abstain? Nah, I see.
I would vote against. I would hope the amendment goes down and vote against it. I don't even think it should be on there. I think it's a silly position.
Siri, how are they going to rank these things? Is it-
We rank them, so they're going to act. Cassandra, do you know specifically?
No, I don't.
My understanding is after the fact, they're going to put it out, and then you're going to go through and
yeah.
do it electronically. And so our district will get one that will come to Cassandra, and then she'll rank them. We'll have sent out to all of you before then,
Yeah.
because there are many more positions that aren't even on there for the ranking. This
Yeah.
was just positions that are being voted on.
Right.
Now that
And
rings
then
a
we'll
bell.
rank
I
it
think
from
we have
top
a
20,
week.
then we'll go from there.
I think they're going to give us a week to rank order.
Okay, well, we'll do that quickly.
Okay.
Can we rank order higher than the number is? You only got top 40. Can we say 1,000 to make a point?
So, support for school-based health centers.
Right.
3 pass, 1 unsure, 1 do not pass.
Right? Did we? Am I the right one here?
I'm pretty sure I'm a
I
no. on
pushed
this.
this about 8 years ago and had my head handed to me at the board meeting when I tried to suggest that we ought to have them.
Yeah.
And because of all the surgery centers that are around here, but I think we're not remembering the fact that we got a hell of a lot of schools that don't have a surgery center on every other block.
Center? I kind of lost the plot. Which one are we looking at here?
Oh, sorry. We're looking at the support for school-based health centers.
Okay.
Yeah, Mark, that some of the schools don't have a what?
When I first came on the board, I was pushing for school-based health centers, whatever you want to call this, whatever health centers, and I got my head handed to me by the rest of the board because we didn't need it because we've got Overlake has a center here and Swedish has one over there and so forth, but we neglected to realize that not everybody has the access to healthcare resources that we have. There are some schools that need to have these things. And to be quite frank, if you're depending on insurance to get those kids to Swedish or to Overlake, you might as well just cancel Christmas because they don't have the insurance. They're not going to get taken.
This legislative position is addressing liability issues, and because there actually is complete capacity at any point that schools can do school-based health centers. So when Bethel went about to do theirs, they had concerns about liability pieces. So that's where this legislation is coming from. It actually doesn't provide funding for school-based centers. It's none of those pieces, Mark. It actually is much more around having the capacity to establish it and addressing liability.
John?
Turn on all my microphones. I read this one as it's allowing for not-for-profit community healthcare providers. And I don't know the current legislation around this, because we can already have community-based health centers in our schools. And so I believe the nuance here is that it's a not-for-profit community healthcare provider. But so I'm trying to understand what is the difference between this versus what we're already able to do, because we can do this already.
Well, and part of my problem is there's only so much that schools need to be responsible for. If healthcare is a problem, let's fix healthcare. Let's not put it on the schools.
And I
So
think
that's why I'm against this whole idea.
I think it's interesting. There's very strong opinions about school-based healthcare centers. I remember one of our former superintendents had a very strong opinion. I remember one of our high school principals had a very strong opinion, both opposite, both people I respect greatly. But I think the argument for is when you think about students in need, one of the places they probably feel safest is at their school, and if they're not going to reach out to get that support elsewhere through other agencies, they may get it at their school. And so having kind of a collective set of supports in the school setting. Now, I think it's a pretty long runway to navigate getting a school-based health center implemented, given all of the liability and things like that. I see they address it here. So I guess I'm not completely sure what this allows for that isn't already supported.
Well, if this is only liability, if Bethel was concerned about their liability, and I don't know why they wouldn't bring this up to their insurer to find out what the hell their exposure was. But if we're so concerned about social emotional learning, this is a prime part of it, folks. If you can't give coverage, if you can't give liability coverage for that district, then they're not going to be able to provide counselors for mental health. It doesn't have to be a broken arm. It could be a broken train of thought. I mean, a broken support system for them.
I'm just skeptical that you need healthcare centers to be a superset of counseling. Counseling I see as a school's responsibility. Healthcare I still see as a broader societal responsibility. And anyway.
Mental health is part of healthcare.
Mental care is part of healthcare, but just because you're providing mental care doesn't mean you have to provide healthcare.
Just in regards to this position, the speaking here more is in regards to it's a barrier potentially for any place that might want to do a school-based health center. So the idea is that you would remove those barriers. That's the component that's here in this legislation.
Yeah, I just don't think
I'm convinced.
Not doing
So
the
we're not
value
saying
stuff.
we have to adopt Chris.
Yeah.
I'm in favor of it.
Okay.
We're not saying we have to adopt and build one right now. We're saying that if you want to have one, you can have it.
And I think, because these are statewide issues and we are in a fortunate position where we don't seem to need a healthcare facility on our school property, but having gone to a rural district myself and realizing that it might be the closest place in 25 miles, then other districts are looking at this in a different manner.
Yeah.
So it's not something I think we should do, but it might help rural districts.
Okay. So not a priority for us, but fine.
Okay, so yes, and I can tell them we don't need it, but hey, ubiquitous, affordable, high-speed internet.
Yeah, and I was against this one again because, where does the responsibility of the school district end? Sorry. The notion that
No, I have some concerns.
Okay.
And this is where
Sure,
Yakima
please.
is currently doing a sort of a partnership with the city and private business and other nonprofits where they're able to use other people's internet So the city, say, has their own internet system. I'm totally butchering this. The city has their own connectivity, huge tower looming over everybody so everyone can connect, and the schools are able to use that for students who live in that area. Same as, say, you've got Microsoft somewhere, and they obviously have a very strong signal that students could be routed through if a Wi-Fi hotspot isn't enough in the area that they live.
This is an equity issue. Voting against is voting against economic equity.
Yep, I agree. I'm in favor of it strongly.
Chris?
You already said he wasn't.
Oh, okay.
That's the thing. I'm not passionately against it, but I certainly don't think this gets anywhere near our top 20 for our district.
Not for us. It's a statewide issue there's already legislators working
really
on it.
for
Larry Springer is working on this particular issue.
Yeah.
Well, to be quite frank, if Larry's working on it, we ought to be supportive of our own legislator, to be quite frank.
Oh yeah, we've talked a couple of times. He's always interested in what our access is and what our stopping points and tripping points are. So for the good of the state, is it a yes on internet?
Sure.
Yes.
You can see I feel passionately.
You know what? We don't need it. So we're fortunate we haven't needed some of these. Okay, and then equitable school funding, row 14.
That's right.
It just came after 52. No, wait a minute. I was tired by then. I think I was unsure about this.
We had 3 pass, 1 unsure, 1 do not pass.
Okay, can we show the copy?
Yeah, come up.
Thank you. This has got to be 1 point type.
Here. Second.
Thank you.
So, oppose legislation resulting in reduction to state education funding if impacts fall inequitably among students persistently and disproportionately impacted by opportunity gaps.
Yeah.
I mean, the truth is that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mark. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, I mean, the truth is that could, honestly, that could result in it impacting our district more. But I still, nonetheless, think this is good policy for the state as a whole, and I support it.
Well, it's again shifting probably west dollars over to east schools that everybody screams about, but it's equity, and you can't really dodge that. I just want to know how many times they can put impact in one sentence.
Yeah.
So,
Siri, any strong feelings?
No strong feelings. That funding is tough, especially when it's limited.
I don't think I was the no, but the only reason I would have voted no would be, there's a certain level of redundancy. I mean, how far do you want to get into the wordsmithing at the state level? Because we're just making recommendations to legislatures. This isn't the law. Anyway, I don't care passionately.
So I don't see this as a school funding proposal. I see this as more of not a blank check. I don't mean it that way too much, but you're giving authority to WASDA to oppose legislation that you don't know about yet. And for me, that doesn't feel in the spirit of this process. So when I read it, that's kind of how, that's what I walked away with. If there's specific legislation, it seems like it's an odd position, because it's just saying in the future you make the determination on which legislation you'll oppose versus having an actual position. So that's why I kind of struggled with this one. Not that I disagree with the idea of not disproportionately impacting our black and brown students across the state. It's more about, what is this actually, what authority is it actually providing?
That's a good point. And I didn't ask you, I believe you went through some of these with Cabinet.
So I passed this along the Cabinet, I believe it was on Friday of last week, and just asked them to kind of review items that were specifically relevant to their division. And so I don't know if anyone in Cabinet has a comment around this specific one, but that's just kind of how I was thinking about it.
Okay. Yeah, if anybody else, anybody at all, doesn't have to be a board member, wants to weigh in, here's your big chance.
I don't have any additional comments either on this one. I agree. It's just a weird one about we're going to oppose things that, yeah. So.
Thank you.
My one concern is that come time for us to push another bond and levy, and someone brings up, oh, gee, you're just going to shift the dollars eastward again. Is that something we should be concerned about, this number 13?
I don't think so.
I'm asking a question.
I don't think so.
Okay.
So what is the consensus? Is it just too bizarre and I abstain, or are there strong feelings to pass?
I'm in favor of it.
Anybody else?
Sure.
You guys aren't making this easy. Come on. Draw a line in the sand.
Got 2 votes, need 3 more.
Well, it was 3-1-1 before, and I don't think anyone's changed their mind.
Yeah,
So, I think you can make the call, Cassandra, when you're there.
yeah, that's fine.
Okay. If
Yeah.
I listen to
Listen to the
arguments,
discussion, listen to what happens, and then make a decision that way. Because there's a lot of discussion that happens on the floor as well.
okay.
I think
And
that's-
that will help to inform at the same time. This is just one of the data points.
Okay.
I agree.
I think that's it, unless I'm not looking at the lines correctly. Because really yellow, there was just one person that was unsure or did not pass, and everybody else, majority did pass. So I felt like that we don't want to go through the entire thing
No.
if it was that strong, of a pass. So are you guys comfortable? Is there anything else you wanted to pull from the others to discuss?
Absolutely not.
No.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you. That's the next piece of the input that I needed. And then, John, did we decide that on the work plan, there is a date for us to actually set our ledge priorities? On November 9, maybe?
So I was going to look at that, and I will let the board know either this week or next week what the work plan can accommodate. Because right now it has it on for, it's that first meeting in November. When we were in discussions, we were hoping to have it either end of October or beginning of October. But it also depends on when WASA puts out their ledge positions? We're waiting for an agency that puts theirs out, or is it WASDA in their turnaround of this information? I don't remember which agency we said there's a delay in when they get theirs out. That would be helpful for us as well.
So WASDA will probably, since they're giving us a week as a board to then vote on WASDA priorities after the General Assembly. Maybe that is what is the holdup. And so that would be September 25th that, the vote at General Assembly takes place. And then as a district, they'll email me results that then we can focus on and prioritize. And so that takes us to like November 2nd. Because we'll have a week after the 25th.
Okay.
So I don't think it's going to happen in October.
November,
close.
the beginning of November is our typical pattern.
Okay.
So,
Envisage how the legislature is no longer accepting pieces of paper when you go by and visit them. And to be quite frank, with COVID going on, I'm not sure how many legislative visits there are going to be. I'm not sure we really need to print something up as special. We can put it on the website, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll definitely have meetings with the legislators lining up after General Assembly is done and after we set our ledge priorities. And those are probably going to be Teams meetings, and they'll just have an electronic copy.
Throw that out. There's no reason to print it up, is what I'm saying.
All right, President LaLiberty, take it away.
Okay, I think we've reached the end of the agenda for the study session tonight. Any additional comments or questions from the board? We have more to talk about following the study
I just
session.
realized that. So let's.
Okay, anyway, I'm moving on. The board will convene an executive session. John, I have on the agenda that we have a closed session and an executive session. Do I have that correct?
say that again?
Sorry, maybe my internet's slow. I have that we have both an executive session and a closed session. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And we're going into executive session first. Is that the order?
Yes, and then you'll close the meeting, and then we'll move into closed session because it's allowable under OPMA.
Okay, thank you. The board will convene in executive session at 9:07 for 30 minutes for the purpose to consider the selection of a site or acquisition of real estate by lease or purchase and the minimum price at which real estate will be offered for sale or lease. The meeting will reconvene at 9:37. There will be no board action following executive session.
And those are separate links,
My
right?
internet is slow. Yeah, there's a separate link. And this study session is now adjourned.